Hey everyone, this is Bulba Trainer. I'm going to start this off with a thank you to all my subscribers and the people who watch this. Again, even one view on a video is mind-blowing to me, so really, thank you. If you do like this content though and want to see more, please let me know by subscribing and liking it, and ring the bell so you get notified when I post a video. I'm really excited about growing this channel, but while I work on finding my groove and finding new content I can post, I have a lot of fun making top 10s. And since I watch a lot of those anyways, and tier lists seem to be popular right now, I think I can continue with those. Drop a comment for some other content you might want to see and I'll definitely consider it though. For this list, I thought I'd continue on with the Pokemon world, and figured what better way to start than by going over my choices from my favorite type. In the video on my top picks from each generation, I had a fair amount of Ghost and Dark types, and while they are two of my favorites, and I didn't feature any Pokemon with the water typing, it actually is and always has been my favorite. It might have something to do with Gen 1 not having any dark types, and both Gen 1 and 2 not giving us too many ghosts. Every first playthrough of every gen has always seen me pick the water type starter, even Gen 1 initially, and with the exception of Bulbasaur and Litten, they've remained my favorite in each game, even though I do prefer the look of Quilava over Croconaw. For that reason, I'm excluding the starters from this list, otherwise it would just be a list of each water type since the beginning. I also included families because sometimes what I like most about a Pokemon will be how it changes through its evolutions, or how different evolutions can complement each other. I'm also again excluding legendaries, even though the amount of legendaries with water typing is minimal, just because I always enjoy lists where they're separate. With that said, let's get started. Number 10, Arrokuda and Barraskewda. With partial influences from inanimate objects and partial influences from a pretty awesome fish, this family is easily in my top picks for coolest design from Pokemon in quite a while. Everything from the curly mustache looking marks at the end of its mouth to the spinning tail fin on Barraskewda makes me like it more. It even has excellent shiny coloration, which is just an added bonus. It's the combination of speed and ability that really cements the whole thing though. Low HP and defense might normally be deal breakers for practical use of a Pokemon, but Barraskewda has phenomenal speed, the highest of the water types, and also has the ability Swift Swim, which means that if it rains, Barraskewda doubles its speed, making sure that with its move pool, you might never have to find out how low its defense really is. If you Dynamax Barraskewda and use Max Geyser, it even creates its own rain, while using the high attack stats to do some serious damage. I've mentioned before that stats aren't everything, and I probably will do so again, and this is one of the cases that proves why. Objectively, the lower HP and defense stats might normally make me skip over this one, but when used the right way, Barraskewda can put its speed to the best possible use and move you towards a victory. Number 9. The Horsey family. Seahorses and dragons are pretty cool. In fact, I was originally going to have Skrelp and Dragalge here, but decided against it since Dragalge loses its water typing in favor of poison. Thankfully, Horsey and its family were there to help me out. Starting off as adorable before moving into wicked and then just plain awesome territory, I've loved Horsey even before it gained its third evolution. Taking inspiration from some of the neater denizens of the deep in our real world, Horsey and its evolutionary family are exactly what I look for in Pokemon design. A clear reference to the real world counterparts, while still offering a clever twist by including ink known to the cephalopods, and even references to the archerfish with the way it can shoot down flying insects. Add in a little monster of the deep lore in the way that Kingdra's yawns create whirlpools large enough to destroy ships, and you've got yourself a solid Pokemon. Even though most people have less than total love for Claire's Kingdra in the Gold, Silver, Crystal games and their remakes, having one of your own can be equally frustrating for your opponents. If you're playing a game where it's still used in the field, every step of Horsey's family can learn Surf, as well as a variety of useful water, ice, and even dragon moves on Kingdra's part, with Draco Meteor being available by tutoring in every generation it has appeared in since 4. The abilities of the family are nothing to scoff at either, with Swift Swim, Sniper, and Poison Point being the options, all of which have their uses. And while the hidden ability Damp isn't as versatile, it can still be nice to have, especially when you're traversing one of those areas where all the Pokemon seem to know is self-destruct and aren't shy about using it. Plus, the shiny forms were pretty well done in my opinion. Number 8, Clauncher and Clawitzer. One of the best things I love about these two is that they almost seem like a meme setup. Hear me out. A lobster, okay? But with a water cannon. I know Clauncher can shoot water from its claw too, but its design doesn't speak too much to that fact. Especially in its perfectly colored shiny form, you might mistake it for just another cartoon lobster. Clawitzer is the perfect transition though. Due to its limited habitat, relatively late introduction, and being a version exclusive, it's probably a bit more overlooked than it deserves to be. I played Y, for obvious reasons, so I had to get one traded to me from my roommate, and I wasn't disappointed. While lacking a bit for speed, the Mega Launcher ability when paired with Water Pulse is my go-to in situations requiring a water Pokemon in-game. Of course, competitively, its faults outweigh its advantages, but it still makes a really decent Pokemon for just a regular playthrough. The biggest draw of why I love this Pokemon is centered around its design though, not its stats. I can do that. The tiny shrimp paired with the awesome-looking monster-headed water cannon claw is just cool looking to me, and that's why it made it onto this list. Number 7, Lapras. Lapras is in a lot of these lists, with good reason. Since its debut in the first generation, there's always been something special about Lapras. Still the only member of its family, though upgraded with a Gigantamax form, this is another one of those Pokemon that held a semi-legendary status among us when we were kids. Partially because its design, based on the Plesiosaur, was and still is badass and majestic. Partially because of its rarity, with its initial appearances being limited to one per playthrough or per week, and partially because its dual typing gives it stab on both water and ice moves, and still to this day it's one of my top picks for water or ice types on my teams. Its possible abilities are also all really useful in battle as well, with Water Absorb making sure it stands against other water types, even if you trained it with an electric, psychic, or ice moveset. Shell Armor protecting you against those critical hits that always seem to happen at the least opportune times, and Hydration getting rid of those equally frustrating status conditions as long as it's raining, which Lapras can learn the move for. The basis of the Surfing Sprite in Generation 2, and the main method of traveling for Ash in the Orange Link, Lapras also has its transportation lore going for it, because honestly, I'd rather fly to Florida and then sail on Lapras somewhere than take a cruise. Far less people to get in your way. Unless it's Gigantamax, cause 4,000 fracking people. Number 6, Carvanha and Sharpedo. Piranhas and sharks? What can I say? There's something fascinating about these creatures. A fair amount of our in-real-world horror deals with them, and that didn't happen by accident. There's no shortage of carnivores in the world or even the ocean. A Barracuda-based Pokemon was already featured in this list, but something about these two is different. I think it's the teeth. The utilization of them on both of these Pokemon is a great callback to their source animals, which are also easily identified by that trait. But even beyond that, the overall design of these Pokemon makes it clear that they're dangerous. If I saw these swimming towards me, even if I didn't know what they were, I'd get out of there fast. Sharpedo even has battle scars, and when are battle scars not cool? Both forms of this Pokemon are intimidating, even if their abilities disagree, but since we're on the topic, Rough Skin, its regular ability, and Speed Boost, its hidden ability, aren't anything too shabby either, with the former giving a bit of extra damage to the attacker if the move makes contact, and Speed Boost doing what it says on the tin and upping your speed every turn. I think this is one of the cases where its regular ability is better. In battles I've used them in, I tend to focus on a hard first hit that hopefully can finish off an opponent by itself, or if they choose to retaliate with a contacting move. Since Sharpedo and Mega Sharpedo have decent attack and special attack stats, I like to hit the ground running, Mega Evolve, and go in for a physical attack, hopefully not needing a speed boost, though it is nice to have as a backup if my first attack doesn't KO the opponent, since their defense leaves a bit to be desired. I'm not a big fan of Carvanha's shiny form, but do find its regular color scheme to be very eye-grabbing and complimentary. Sharpedo, on the other hand, looks great in both palettes in my opinion. Purple may not be the obvious choice when you want to color the brutal Pokemon, but it loses none of that brutality with the shift, which speaks to its great design, though maybe that's just because I'm a fan of Saints Row. Number 5, Magikarp and Gyarados. I actually like Magikarp. Not for their usefulness in battle, obviously, but nearly everything else about them is just neat. I don't think their design is terrible. In fact, I consider it one of the best. If I had a koi pond, I certainly wouldn't mind a few of these buddies swimming around in there. And its shiny form is golden, but it's the lore this Pokemon is based on that really cinches it for me. Asian carps that can make the jump up a particular waterfall are, according to myth, transformed into dragons. It's a nice allegory for hard work paying off, which is exactly what you get with Magikarp. If you can put in the work to level it up, or take the shortcut with rare candies, you get Gyarados. Gyarados would be the dragon of the myth after achieving a difficult jump. They share a similar shape to Chinese dragons, but that's really where the similarities end. For the most part, dragons in Chinese lore are benevolent, bordering on deity status, and can bring helpful rains to the land. Gyarados, on the other hand, is the atrocious Pokemon, and is far more likely to summon some dragon rage than a gentle spring shower. One of the most vicious looking Pokemon from the beginning, it's relatively easy to acquire one, but it always makes an impression, which is probably why Lance, Claire, and Blue usually have one on their teams. It's also the first shiny for most Pokemon players, since a shiny Gyarados is just plopped right into the middle of your story in Silver, Gold, Crystal, and their remakes. I still think the color could have been better, but since it's the only shiny with a canon reason as to why it's shiny, I think we can let it slide. Besides, shiny or not, it also has a Mega Evolution which is fantastically designed, giving it more of a sea serpent look. And even though it gains more overall weaknesses, Mega Gyarados' dark typing lets it drop the double weakness to electricity, which is standard Gyarados' only drawback. Though, if you ever replay a Gen 1 game and go up against a Gyarados, you'll be thanking Arceus that they didn't make it a Dragon Water type, and the same thing goes for Claire in her game's remakes. Number 4, the Spheal family. I'm not the first person to mention it, but with a few changes to the family's stats, Spheal could have made an excellent starter Pokemon. The design of the 3 members of this family may not be the most exciting overall, but they're still good and get the point across. Gen 3 already had a dual-typed water starter, and Walreign's base stats are equal to 13 of the starter's final evolutions. But hey, I guess if it had been a starter, I wouldn't have been able to include it on the list. Though then, I probably would have been able to include Mudkip. Despite having such high base stats, the way those numbers are spread around is not fortunate enough to make the family very versatile, but as I've said before and will say again, stats aren't everything when picking a favorite Pokemon sometimes. Sometimes, it's just about the design, and having loved seals and sea lions for a long time, Seal and Dugong almost made it to this spot, I still find the family enjoyable, and with a bit of work can use them as a staller on my team. Ice Body combined with an Icy Rock and Hail make sure you're recovering a bit of HP every turn, and if you add Blizzard in that mix, Walrein can do a fair amount of damage. I may not include one on every team, but with excellent design, okay shiny coloration, and some usefulness in battle, they're still one of my favorites. Number 3, Staryu and Starmie. Pokemon has given us a fair number of extraterrestrial creatures. The Elgyem line, the Cleffa family, and Deoxys are some examples, but I've noticed that Staryu and Starmie are sometimes overlooked in that list. They've remained unchanged since their debut in Generation 1, but they don't need anything extra to be special to me. If you've ever seen a starfish, you know that they tend to move a bit slow, which is why the change-up of having one with a decent speed stat is so awesome. Frequently in my party, due to being a pretty good offensive player, these two can also have Natural Cure as their ability, or Illuminate, which helps keep any pesky status conditions off of it. Their moveset is also pretty good, with access to healing moves, as well as some reasonable picks from electric and stab-capable water and psychic moves. Said to lay out under the stars and talk to them, or send out radio signals into space, the lore around these Pokemon has been enigmatic enough to catch my attention since the beginning and has only grown more interesting as time has gone on. While there are other Pokemon more directly implied to be from space, and I don't recall them ever being so direct with these two, it's still theorized based on their behavior, and the subtlety is part of why I like them so much. Also, no other Pokemon has had as awesome anime cries as these two. That's how you make an entrance. Number 2, Typo family. Sometimes I like to include Pokemon that I like for aesthetic reasons, even if I don't usually battle with them. This pick is kind of the opposite. Don't get me wrong, Typo is cute with its little headphones, but I don't find too much pleasing about the look of Palpitoad and Seismitoad. If you do, that's great, and it's on this list because it's still one of my favorites. Even without finding any particular favor with me in terms of design, I still love having this family on my team. Having Swift Swim and access to some pretty awesome ground and water type moves usually has me put them in the spot of Sweeper, which was made all the better in Gen 8 when it became able to learn Stealth Rock, but has found use on my team even before that. Considering the typing of the later two stages is only weak to grass, it can easily fit into the slots of a party, even when I already have a water type. The Pokédex entries of this family are also pretty neat. With the offensive capabilities from sound waves always a topic of interest for me, taking the concept of loud sound hurting your ears or shattering glass and making it part of the family's evolution, from Typo's high-pitched chatter to Seismitoad's ability to shatter boulders with sound, these three will always have a place on this list. Number 1. Vaporeon. You're going to notice a lot of evolutions in these videos, as almost all of them are in my top picks for their typing. Almost. But without a doubt, Vaporeon tops my list for both evolutions and non-starter or legendary water-type Pokemon. This has been the case from the very beginning, but was really cemented back when there were only 3 evolutions. Yes, there was a time when there were only 3. Flareon could breathe fire, Jolteon could shock, and Vaporeon could melt into water. This was mind-blowing to a little kid. Of course, over the years, my decision has been based on more practical aspects, but I still find that to be a neat feature of the Pokemon, and I think it may have even influenced its use of the ability Water Absorb, which makes it great to send out even against other water users. Its stats are pretty good anyway, with HP being its biggest draw, but with respectable special attack and defense. Since it can learn Scald and gain Stab for it, you might even find yourself giving burns in situations you wouldn't normally have thought of, which is my favorite play with Vaporeon. Throw in a little Ice Beam, Surf, Hyper Beam, or a combo Hail/Blizzard, and you've got yourself a trusty partner that I've taken through countless Elite Fours and gym battles. Vaporeon is another one of the Pokemon that I think looks good in purple. Maybe not a perfect match for a Pokemon whose molecules are supposed to be so close to water, but I can't hate the lavender coloring. Whether blue or purple though, Vaporeon has a pretty unique design that has captivated me since I was little, and it still holds a spot in my favorites to this day. That about does it for this list of top 10 Pokemon of my favorite type, water. If you made it this far, thank you. I really appreciate every comment, view, like, and subscription, and really can't think of anything else I'd rather be doing but making more videos for you guys. If you want to watch them, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like this video, leave a comment, and I will see you all next time. Stay safe.